Imagine a place where the streets empty out before dark, where the daily sounds are not of peaceful city life, but gunfire and conflict. A land that just a decade ago gained its independence, but remains gripped by poverty, war, and devastation. This is South Sudan, the most dangerous country you should never travel to. Located in the heart of East Africa, South Sudan became the world's newest country in 2011 after breaking away from Sudan following decades of brutal civil war. But the hope for a peaceful new beginning quickly faded. Civil unrest, tribal warfare, and government corruption have turned this young nation into a battleground where survival is an everyday challenge. Since gaining independence, South Sudan has been engulfed in a bloody civil war that has claimed nearly 400,000 lives. Tribes and factions continue to fight for power and resources. Many villages have been burned to the ground, families torn apart, and millions have fled their homes. The UN reports that over 4 million people have been displaced due to the ongoing violence. The country's leadership is also deeply flawed. President Salvakir, a former military commander, has maintained a tight grip on power since the country's inception. His administration has been accused of corruption, human rights violations, and suppressing free speech. Journalists, activists, and even ordinary citizens who dare to criticize the regime often face imprisonment or worse. South Sudan is not only plagued by violence but also extreme poverty. It is one of the poorest countries in the world, where the majority of people live on less than $1 a day. With a lack of infrastructure, healthcare, and basic services, many rely on international aid just to survive. Disease is rampant, clean water is scarce, and malnutrition affects millions, especially children. Even daily life presents extraordinary challenges. Many South Sudanese tribes depend on cattle for survival, with cows representing wealth and social status. However, cattle raids between tribes often lead to deadly confrontations. In these areas, cattle aren't just animals, they are life itself. And conflicts over cattle have led to some of the bloodiest battles in the country. The humanitarian crisis in South Sudan is catastrophic. Around 60% of the population is in need of food aid, and over 1 million people are living in refugee camps, often surrounded by barbed wire and UN peacekeepers. These camps are filled with families who have lost everything. Even in these camps, safety is not guaranteed. Armed groups often attack, loot, and kidnap people, including women and children. Despite its natural beauty, including the iconic Nile River, South Sudan is a place where danger lurks around every corner. The country's rich natural resources, including oil, have done little to help the people. Instead, these resources have only fueled conflict as foreign companies and warlords vie for control of the country's wealth. If you're thinking of traveling to South Sudan, think again. This country is ranked among the most dangerous places in the world for tourists. Armed robberies, kidnappings, and violent crime are commonplace. Foreigners, particularly Westerners, are often seen as targets due to the assumption that they have money or valuable possessions. Even humanitarian workers, protected by international agreements, are not safe from attack. After dark, the streets of South Sudan become even more treacherous. Curfews are common, and anyone who dares to stay out risks being robbed, attacked, or worse. The security situation is so volatile that most foreign governments advise their citizens against traveling to South Sudan under any circumstances. The reality is that even if you manage to enter the country, your safety cannot be guaranteed. Armed checkpoints, rogue militias, and criminal gangs make traveling within the country extremely dangerous. Without local protection, your chances of making it through unscathed are slim to none. South Sudan is a land of immense potential, a country that could one day rise from the ashes of its violent past. But for now, it remains a place where hope and hardship walk hand in hand. For those who live here, life is a daily struggle for survival. For those thinking of visiting, the risks far outweigh any reward. Sometimes the most dangerous places in the world are not those that we see in the news every day, but the ones quietly suffering, hidden from the spotlight. South Sudan is one of those places. Until peace, stability, and safety are restored, it's a country that should remain far off any traveler's map.